This whole thing started like most insane stories do, quietly. No viral headline, no trending topic, just a weird article from late 2024 that barely made a ripple. It mentioned this police chief, John Peler, a name nobody had on their Bohemian radar. But now, this guy's in the eye of a storm. And it's a storm tied to two of the biggest names in American culture, Diddy and Oprah Winfrey. Here's where it gets weird. That obscure article, it casually claimed that John Peler had transporting connections to both Diddy and Oprah. That's already suspicious. What does that even mean? Transporting what? People? Money? Secrets? It was vague. Too vague to be taken seriously at the time. But a few months later, boom, a lawsuit drops. A heavy one. Ashley Pum steps forward with allegations so dark they read like a horror script. Drugging, assault, kidnapping. And guess who shows up in the middle of it all? John freaking Peler. This guy wasn't just a name in the paperwork. He's listed as one of the key people who helped cover it all up. According to the lawsuit, he posed as a California sheriff to silence Ashley Pum's report back in 2018. Problem is, he wasn't even working in California. He was stationed in Las Vegas. Yet somehow, he shows up, talks her down, and allegedly helped sweep everything under the rug. And this isn't a one-time coincidence. You remember the Las Vegas shooting in 2017? 58 people dead, hundreds injured. It was a nightmare. John Peler was there too, not just present. He was the incident commander, the guy in charge of the entire police response. He made the decisions. What footage got released, what didn't, which narrative made the news, and which ones didn't. Witnesses said there were multiple shooters. Officially, just one. Footage vanished, redacted, scrubbed. And right at the center, Peler. Then fast forward to 2023, Maui wildfires. A tragedy that made no sense from the beginning. Roads blocked with zero warning. Residents trapped, barricades stopping people from escaping literal flames. Journalists barred, locals silenced. Guess who was on the mic delivering polished press? Conferences while bodies were being pulled from the ashes? Yep, John Peler. 3 catastrophic events, 3 different years. And somehow, someway, this man is always right in the thick of it. Always calm, always in charge, always walking away clean. But now things are starting to crack. Because this time, his name is in black and white on federal court documents. No speculation, no theory, just allegations that he impersonated a sheriff, covered up a violent crime, and might have even been physically involved in moving victims. Now here's where Oprah enters the picture. That same article from 2024 that linked Peler to Diddy, it also said he was working for, again, no details, just this eerie suggestion that he was a middleman for both. And now people are connecting. Dots. Oprah owns massive land in Maui, the same place Peler controlled the police response, the same place where survivors are still asking why nobody came to help, why people were barricaded inside while flames ate the town alive. Is it a conspiracy? Could be. Or maybe it's just the world finally paying attention to patterns that have been hiding in plain sight. What makes all this even more twisted is how Peler is reacting now. After being named in the lawsuit tied to Diddy, he didn't back down. He didn't even go quiet. Instead, he gave a statement defending himself, doubling down, and refusing to step down. According to him, the allegations are false. He hasn't been served. He's innocent. And he's not going anywhere. Not until the investigation is over. But the deeper you dig, the less that confidence sounds like integrity, and more like desperation. There's a type of person who always seems to be around when something bad goes down. Not in a bystander kind of way, more like the person who shows up just a little too conveniently. That's the energy John Peler gives off. Not famous, he's not flashy, but somehow he keeps surfacing in the middle of chaos. And not just any chaos. We're talking national disasters and headline-making crimes. Take the Maui wildfires. The entire thing still doesn't add up. People trapped in cars, roads mysteriously blocked, locals denied access to their own homes. There were cops physically stopping people from leaving burning neighborhoods. And who was standing at the podium during all of this? Acting as the voice of authority? It was Peler. He wasn't some backup figure or obscure officer. He was the Maui police chief. And when residents started asking questions, when footage started leaking that contradicted the official timeline, he was the one giving the media statements, controlling the story. That alone is strange, But when you connect it to the Vegas shooting years before, it starts to feel deliberate. Controlled disaster response, redacted footage, public confusion. That's 2 events where he steered the narrative. But now you throw in the lawsuit with Diddy and it stops feeling like coincidence. The Ashley Pum case is terrifying. In her lawsuit, she describes being drugged, assaulted, and kidnapped by Diddy's crew. But what's even worse is the cleanup that allegedly happened afterward. She says she tried to report it like any victim would, but instead of support, she got silence. According to her, John Peler showed up wearing a fake badge, pretending to be from a different department, and shut it all down. Not just dismissing her claims, but actively covering them up. And now it's out in the open. The lawsuit is public, the allegations are on paper, and people are finally starting to connect names. So, what's Peler's defense? He's claiming he hasn't even been served, that the accusations are baseless, that he's being dragged through the mud for no reason. But then, why was he there? Why would a Vegas police commander show up in California for a case that had nothing to do with him? Who told him to go? Who gave him access? These are the questions nobody seems to be answering. Now back to Oprah. Her name isn't in the lawsuit, she hasn't been accused of anything. But the 2024 article claiming Peler had transporting connections to her and Diddy, that's what's making people uneasy, especially when you consider the timeline. Months before this lawsuit dropped, that article called it, not the specific details, but the pattern, that this man might be more than a cop, that he might be a fixer, someone who moves quietly between celebrity worlds and law enforcement, cleaning up behind the scenes. And that's the most disturbing part. Because if that's true, it changes the entire narrative. Peler wouldn't just be a corrupt cop. He'd be an operator. The guy who steps in when powerful people need things buried. The kind of person who doesn't just stumble onto crime scenes, but is placed there with purpose, with orders, and with immunity. The mayor of Maui has already called for him to step down, said it's time for accountability. But Peler is holding the line. He's not leaving, not backing down. He says it's unjust, that it's too soon to judge. But at this point, people aren't judging because they want drama. They're judging because there's a pattern, and the man at the center of it isn't giving any good reason why he keeps showing up where disaster strikes. The scariest thing about this whole situation isn't just the crimes being alleged, it's how normal the cover-ups seem to be. Like, there's an actual system in place, a playbook, and people like John Peler might not just be working inside it. They might be writing it. They could be the ones running it. It's one thing to say someone is corrupt. It's another to show that they keep turning up where truth disappears. Vegas, Maui, and now this lawsuit tied to Diddy. Different events, different victims, but the same familiar face popping up each time. And what makes it worse is how easily he slides between roles. Sometimes he's the voice of calm during a press conference. Other times he's allegedly posing as an officer from a different state. When you look at it all together, it feels less like coincidence and more like choreography. And maybe that's why the lawsuit against Diddy hit so hard. Not just because of what happened to Ashley Pum, but because it lifts the curtain a little. It exposes that there are people whose entire job may be to shield others from consequences. Victims get ignored, cases vanish, public records get sealed, all while powerful names keep living untouched lives. If Peler is being honest, and he really had no involvement, then it's the worst coincidence in modern law enforcement history. But if the allegations are even partially true, then we're looking at a guy who's made a career out of protecting people, not with justice, but with silence. There's another layer that nobody wants to say out loud. Why is someone like Oprah's name even being floated in this? She's built a brand on being America's moral compass, uplifting stories, inspirational books, charity work. But if this man had ties to her too, if he really was running transporting connections for both her and Diddy, then that's not just a red flag. That's a wrecking ball. Maybe it's nothing. Maybe someone threw her name in to get clicks. Or maybe there's a reason people in power always seem untouchable, because there's someone like Peler making sure the spotlight never stays on them long enough. That idea alone is enough to shake your faith in how things work. And he's not the only one. If Peler exists, there are probably more like him. Not police chiefs, not politicians, just invisible middlemen who can pull strings in different EMEA cities, in different cases. The kind of people who never make the headlines until something slips. The fact that Peler is now in the news, now facing pressure to step down, might be the first real crack in whatever this thing is. But cracks aren't collapses. Not yet. He's still in office, still running the department, still denying everything. And maybe that's why this story matters. Because it's not just about the crimes. It's about what happens after. Who gets protected, who disappears, and who stands there at the mic telling the world to calm down, while the truth gets swallowed. There's a reason people are angry, a reason they're skeptical. You can only erase so much before someone notices the fingerprints left behind. And right now, all the smudges point to one name. Whatever happens next, whether it's resignations, indictments, or just more silence, the damage is already done. Trust is cracked. People are watching closer. And if this really is bigger than Peler, then a lot more names might be coming next. Because middlemen only stay invisible until they don't.